One of the most common questions that I get is, what is your routine? And it seems to have become one of the biggest discussion points in the sphere of health and fitness and self-development online. And I guess it makes sense, doesn't it? Because there seems to be a correlation between discipline, hard work, commitment, and how that translates to all areas of our life, whether that's fitness translating to work, entrepreneurship, education translating to fitness, and everything in between. They seem to be intertwined. A couple of weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to have George Heaton come up and spend the day with me so that we could record a podcast and a YouTube video. And in today's video, we are going to break down the routine of George, who is the founder of Represent Clothing, set to turn over £80 million this year, alongside being one of the fastest growing fashion brands and fitness brands on the planet. George leads from the front, and that has really helped build the business, and he documents his routine on a daily basis, gets a million questions in his DMs about it, and we are going to break that down for you today. As well as that, I'm going to give you some personal insights from my end on how I can run two businesses, train as an athlete, keep myself and my partner Erin happy, as well as making sure my two dogs are fed, watered, and reasonably well groomed most of the year. So if you stick around, this video is going to give you the secret sauce for your routine. What does a day-to-day look like from a habits point of view? Because I can imagine your DMs are peppered with several things, but mostly, bro, what trainers are those? Bro, what's your morning routine? Bro, what's your recovery protocol? What's your morning routine?
Day to day? Full day?
Full day, let's do it.
Full day.
Yeah, full day.
I'll wake up usually around 10 to 5. All right. Quarter to 5, 10 to 5, 5 to 5, whichever one of them 5-minute slots is right for when I go to bed. And before we carry on with the day, I go to bed 8 hours before that. I'm not one of them guys that will do 4 hours sleep or 5 hours sleep. Like, I make sure I'm in bed 8 hours before I wake up.
We say, having both done that today.
Yeah. Well, when there's an important task at hand, then I'll change how that is. But most of the time, 8 hours sleep, wake up just before 5. I will have a shower, brush my teeth.
You that routine, that clockwork, up and at 'em.
Yeah, straight up. I'll
jealous.
Head downstairs. I'll make a coffee. I'll either have a banana or a Squares bar or both if I'm quite hungry.
That riles people up, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. That's again one of the fucking main questions. I'll have a cordyceps. Feel like it helps my endurance.
That balances out the Squares bar. That'll keep the people that are riled up happy, won't it?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things to flag here right off the bat. And the first thing that's important to consider is how important it is to nail the basics. There is no point in carbon copying someone from the internet's routine, somebody in a Twitter thread or a LinkedIn thread's routine, because that has been designed for them, as your routine should be designed for you. Everything should have a purpose, and that is where we should all start from. So figure out what is important and beneficial to you and what makes you happy and has a clear purpose. Just because Gary from down the road is rinsing ice baths every morning and swears by them doesn't mean that they're going to be as life-changing for you as they are for him. Nor does it mean that if you're not journaling at 6 in the morning, you're a bad person and you're not working hard enough. It might just not be the suitable thing for you. So try new things, play around, but most importantly, determine what you enjoy and what brings you benefit, and then ruthlessly routine plan around that. The second key thing to consider here is something I've been banging on about for a while on this channel and on the Modern Mind podcast for a while, and that is the importance of consistent sleep and wake times. Something that Andrew Huberman has popularized massively, but the 5 a.m. club has also been massively popularized. But the 5 a.m. club is only cool if you're also part of the 9 p.m. club and therefore getting enough sleep. There's nothing impressive, cool, or macho, or all gritty and oorah about struggling through the day sleep deprived consistently because you force yourself to get up at 5 a.m. because somebody on the internet told you to do so. But if you're the sort of person like me who gets a huge amount of value from being up early and getting a lot done in the early, darker hours of the morning when everything's quieter, calmer, you're not getting peppered with emails, then that can be a very valuable thing to do. But you cannot compromise on sleep. You can do it a day at a time, you can do it around trips, travel, work commitments, etc. But consistency is what matters here, and consistent sleep and wake times are important things to work into your routine. Using George as an example here, you can see that he's designed his business culture around this consistent sleep and wake cycle. And he's kind of, again, leading from the front, whereby he knows what his regular routine is, and he's built the team, the culture, and the HQ gym around that to get the best out of himself and the wider team.
I was training at my own gym, but now we've got a HQ gym. So I'll get there for around 5:40 Girls' classes start at 6. So I'll open up, get everything ready, get the music on. I'll do a bit of cardio at the moment whilst them classes are on. Next class is the guys' class, which is at 7. And I'll join in on that because I want to build this environment, and I want the people in my workforce to kind of go through what I've been through, because I feel like that whole aspect of like building your physical also massively helps your mental and massively helps you in work. It's all correlated. All them 3 things, business, mindset, physical, like all them things together, if they can arise together, it's fucking fantastic. You don't want to build one of them to such height and leave the other one in the grave and then have to try and build it at a later stage. So yeah, 7 a.m. the guys' classes start, 8 a.m. it finishes, quick shower. I'll usually order a Starbucks for my breakfast.
What's your order?
4 egg bites, sometimes a porridge, and usually just like an iced Americano, a little bit of vanilla in it.
No, you just lied to me. What is it specifically? Because I'm going to throw myself in with it. It's sugar-free vanilla, George.
Yeah, sugar-free vanilla.
Which always makes me cringe when I have to say it. So I'm dragging you down with me. Because when I go, can I get a venti, skinny, sugar-free caramel latte, please? And there's always some man driving a transit van that tuts at me. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
He just walks in and just goes,
sorry.
Coffee.
So I just wanted to make clear that we have the same order and go through the same process there. But from there, what does a work day look like? Because
so 8 a.m. work usually starts.
So the third thing to consider against this context is how important the first waking hours, 3 hours or so of the day are. And for George, that's clearly a case of getting up, training, spending some time with the team, setting the tone for the sort of culture of the business, and then getting into the office so that he's got a clear head, training's done, boxed off we go. But that doesn't mean that might be the best thing for you, because for me, in contrast, I have found that training first thing in the morning is great, and it does leave me feeling really well set up for the day. But what leaves me feeling even better is if I get 2 or 3 hours of uninterrupted, undistracted, early hours of the morning work done before I do my training. Because then at around the 9 a.m. mark, I'm getting my training done. I feel like I've got a big chunk of work done. And then when the mid-morning period hits, I feel like I've got a lot of the day left. So I'm conventionally showering, going downstairs, letting the dogs out, feeding the dogs, making myself a black coffee, coming up here and doing 2 to 3 hours of uninterrupted work. Then I'm training, then I'm into the rest of my work day. And that's what works for me. So all of the popular things that are kicking about the internet right now, the ice baths, the 10,000 steps, the podcast listening, all important things to consider and try, but you should be determining what you get the most from in the first 3 hours of your day, and then commit and plan accordingly. First couple hours of the day are important, so use some trial and error to determine what works best for you, and then stick to it.
Most people get in between 8 and 9 that aren't in the classes. I'll spend about an hour before 9 a.m. where I can just get through all my emails, get through all my DMs, go on the represent accounts, make sure they're all okay, everything's going good. 9 a.m. till 10:30 on a Monday is always with the board, with the team, just figuring out what we've got to do for that week. Then I'll go down to the design area and we will just discuss product. Product will be like my main focus until midday. I'll eat lunch at 12 every day, same thing, which is 2 packs of chicken barbecue from M&S, a pack of cabbage, that goes in the microwave, a little bit of chili sauce on it. Sometimes I'll have a bit extra if I need some more carbs, but that's literally the usual thing. I'll either walk to M&S or I'll just drive there if it's inconvenient because I've got a lot to do. Just get that down me, 10-minute walk always after that lunch, and sit back down, and usually afternoons are either fittings or design reviews. So I use myself as a fit model and we'll go through how necklines fit, how everything is on a garment. Usually that's 2-3 times a week. Monday afternoons get quite hectic with that. Work usually finishes 5:30, 6 p.m. Most people are out of the building by 6. Either me, Steph or Mike will usually lock up, go home. I'm so hungry by then. All I can think about is food. Nothing else but food. So it's I'll cook a steak, put some veg with that. I'll either catch up on the guys that I watch on YouTube or I'll listen to a podcast. Again, I go for a little walk most nights, especially now because it's summer. And because I'm doing the classes in the morning, I'm not exerting myself as much as I should be. So sometimes I'll train later as well. Turn the sauna on, turn the ice bath on, watch a few podcasts, whatever I'm doing. Check through my Instagram, reply to everyone who's commented through the day, because I usually do that morning, then at that time, which is 7 p.m. Hit the sauna, hit the ice bath, hit the bed, nothing more.
I see a twist of thread there. And that's the standards, isn't it?
I guess, yeah, that's my standards.
Does it change when you travel?
It does slightly. It depends what the schedule is. Like if we're in LA and we've got to do training plans and I've got to train with 2 different influencers and we then got to go out at night because we're doing a meal with this guy or we're going to this club, I'll drink, I'll do whatever. Like I'm not complete, like regimented like that. Like, okay, I eat most of the same things every day and I do the same stuff most days, but I like to get out of it. Like I said earlier, every 2 weeks I'm away. And yeah, that is for business, but it's also for myself. Like I don't like getting stuck in the same routine over and over. It gets boring, for one. And number 2, I'm not learning. I'm not seeing things. I'm not in other places. I'm not experiencing things. And I need that to actually be creative.
I think that's quite an unconventional approach to things because a lot of the morning routine discussions online are very dogmatic.
Yeah.
You should do this all the time. This is how you should exist. Whereas you can turn it on and off. The standards there, obviously, they don't deviate, but you can turn it on and off without any sense of feeling like you've let yourself down or like you've made a mistake. Has that always been the case?
No, for a very long time, I thought that you had to do everything the same. And I was stuck in that phase for like probably a year, maybe more, of just doing the exact same thing, not wanting to go out, not wanting to do other things. It was just bang, 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 get it done, get it done. But like, if you want to be creative and you want to meet people and you want to expand like your own knowledge, like you can't just do that sat in your house. You can read as many books as you want. They all tell you the same thing. And you can listen to as many podcasts as you want and they'll all say the same thing. But like as a person, you need to be out there in the world. You need to be going doing different things. You got to even like scare yourself, right? Going on a podcast like scares me. I get nervous doing things like that. That's something that's completely out of my routine. Like today's out of my routine. We slept for 4 hours last night?
Yeah, 3:48 according to my Whoop.
3:48.
It's so unconventional for me as well. I mean, what's mental is that this has come at probably the busiest week of my year so far.
On a random Tuesday as well.
On a random Tuesday, yeah. I mean, the Sunday to Sunday cycle I've got this week, I was intimidated by. Genuinely actually worried that I wouldn't be able to do it, that I wouldn't be able to sit here and switch my brain on.
Right.
But what's mad is it's been so chaotic, but I feel more energized day to day because everything I'm doing this week is exciting and moving things forwards and it's with cool people in different places. And there's a routine that underpins it. But over the years, I've got more and more comfortable with the fact that because I've said I'm going to do something, that can be the standard, the constant. But life isn't constant, is it? So you can't punish yourself when you can't replicate something that was set up for one set of circumstances,
right?
In different circumstances.
Yeah, and look, you can change and adapt. You can go back to that routine, and if it's going to change your body composition or your strength or whatever it is that you're focusing on, you can get back there in a couple of weeks anyway. Like when you mentioned about traveling, like I'll go to LA, I'll drink, I'll party, I'll do a lot of stuff that I wouldn't conventionally do at home, but I'll gain so much from it. I'll meet so many different people. Collaborations can happen. I can work on Machine Gun Kelly's next album merch. Like these things don't happen when you're sat in your fucking office staring at a wall doing the same thing day in, day out.
This point right here is my favorite of the entire video and arguably of the entire podcast, and that is because the dogma that surrounds routines, the dogma that comes with the identity attachment of certain things is enormous in this space. And I think it can do more harm than good in many ways. For George, as an example, he spends a lot of time collaborating with artists, collaborating with creative people, and if he let his dogmatic routine stop him from exercising that creativity and meeting new people and going to dinners later at night, or maybe getting up a little bit later one day to catch up and sleep, all these little things that you could easily say, no, I have these rules, I will not do X, Y, and Z because of this, you might miss out on the gray area of life, which is very much where life is lived, in my opinion. And that's speaking from experience because I used to have a very black and white, very dogmatic view on my routine and the way that I wanted to exist. Whilst I was at university from 2014 to 2016, I've spoken about this openly on the channel before, but long story short, I found myself in a very negative situation. I've been retrospectively diagnosed with severe depression, and having suffered in silence throughout those 2 years ended with a suicide attempt. Fortunately, come out the other side of that healthy and happy, obviously, but the source of that downward spiral came from being so dogmatic that I became a slave to myself, and I disallowed myself from enjoying the parts of life that were there to be enjoyed when the dogma was actually holding me back rather than moving me forwards. And whilst yes, there were habits that made me a better person, habits that developed me from a fitness, from a work, from an education point of view, the inability to bend or compromise on them made it it very difficult for me to enjoy my day-to-day life. And that's a really important point because life is lived in the gray, rules are black and white. Having black and white rules should act as parameters, as constants, as consistent patterns for us to hold ourselves accountable to, but we shouldn't become a slave to them. So we should constantly be evolving, and George has given a really good example of that from somebody that, if you look on their social media, is as rigid in how they exist on a day-to-day basis as you could possibly imagine. So to summarize that point in simple terms, it's very important to set yourself clear parameters and routines to hold yourself accountable to on a consistent basis. But if you couple that with the flexibility of being able to compromise on that routine and know when to adjust things to get the best out of the situation and the circumstances, you, my friend, are set up for success.
Do you have total trust in the team behind you for you to go off and do those things?
I do now, and that's why I do them. That's why I'm sat here today, because I know that the engine is oiled and that there's people in positions that will not let things happen that I wouldn't let happen, but usually would. So I've got like an amazing team. I know you mentioned about the CEO and I forgot to answer earlier. But yeah, I've got people in place that are doing the right things for the business, which allows me this time where I can come and spend time with you. I can learn from you. We can get some hard workouts in. We can do like what I actually love doing.
Okay, so to tie this video together, because I appreciate there's been a lot of information, I'm going to draw one last comparison between George and not myself, in fact, but rather Jonathan Payne, Big JP, Big Johnny, my business partner, who some of you might know from the channel, you might know from Instagram, other social media, Omnia Performance, and actually draw a comparison because they live very, very different lives. George is a single man that runs a business with a lot of staff in the northwest of England and has the routine that he's laid out for you today. Johnny is not a single man, as he is in fact happily married with 4 children and 2 dogs, living just over the water in Fife in Scotland. And if Johnny told Ashley, his lovely wife, that he is going to spend the first couple of hours of the day journaling, training in the back garden, ice bathing, saunaing, reading, meditating, and doing all of the things that are popular, I think he'd get knocked the fuck out. And that is for the simple reason that, as I've covered, the first few hours of the day are important to everybody. And that is where it's up to you to determine what gives you A, joy, and B, benefit, to circle everything back to the original points that we made. And for Johnny, I know that he gets so much reward personally and practically speaking from really just making sure the kids are set up for a positive day, so that once he's got that mental load off his chest and out of his head, he can focus on himself and the rest of the day. And he's not as much of a creature of habit as some of you might expect. He's waking up at consistent timings, as we'd all sort of suggest for everybody, but he doesn't hold himself too accountable to too many parameters and rules because of the variables that come with having 4 children. So I think that's another important lesson, whereby he appreciates the variability of his circumstances and therefore sets clear parameters to work within what's realistic to get the best out of himself and the wider family unit. Again, that is not to say that Johnny is doing it any better than George. I'd say on paper, George probably has the more aspirational, in vogue routine, but that's for a different purpose to Johnny's. And that doesn't mean that one routine is better for you, the viewer, because your circumstances will be different to both of these geezers that I've been referring to, as well as my own, as well as everybody else that's watching this video. And that is why the points that have been raised today have been food for thought and nothing more. Hopefully there's been some actionable things you can consider based on the breakdown I provided, but I really just want to make crystal clear that what person A does on the internet is not therefore what person B should do in their own personal life, because you don't have the full picture of person A on the internet and person B in looking for the solutions to their routine, for whatever is making them searching for answers in their day-to-day life, is best looked at through an individual lens, because we all tick over differently, we all focus on different things, and that is phenomenal. We are the best people at the world in being ourselves, and that is an opportunity that we should embrace. So the next time somebody tells you you've got to do ice baths, bro, otherwise you're not living your best life, you can knock them TF out, because I think we're only allowed 1 swear word per video, aren't we, Ed? So anyway, that is the video. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have done so, please do hit the like button, comment down below with your thoughts, feelings, suggestions, and/or otherwise, and make sure that you have hit subscribe. Furthermore, this has been an excerpt from the Modern Mind podcast in video format on YouTube, which is linked down below. And if you search the Modern Mind on whatever platform for podcasting you listen on, you will find it there. So why not get stuck in, engage with some people far more intelligent than I, and take some insights like you have done today. Check us out on YouTube, check us out on podcast platforms, platforms. Make sure to subscribe, follow, share with a friend, do all the podcasty things. Please, thank you very much, and I will see you next time.